Welcome to Punks on Hope, where we talk about punk rock, mental health, recovery, all that shit. My name is Mikey Livid. I've been sober since July 27th, 2011. Next to me, I got Joe Clements. What's up, Joe?
What's happening, yo?
Yeah.
I'm Joe. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet everybody out there in the world.
We both play in punk rock bands. We teach meditation. So yeah, thanks for joining us. Well, I just want to start. Let's get started. I want to get into this. I got a question for you, Joe.
Already?
An icebreaker.
Quick like this? We're just going right into it. Let's go.
Right fucking... No, yeah. Let's get right fucking to it.
All right.
So, an icebreaker. Let's say, you're hanging out, you're on an airplane, and the person next to you wants to just get to know you. So, the person next to you, they break the ice. And this is their icebreaker. They politely ask you, do you believe in God?
Ooh.
What do you say to them?
Oh my God, that's like...
Just light and polite.
Don't ask me that.
Well, do you believe in God?
Definitely not a God that not you in particular, but that they're trying to tell me what it is, and in the powers that it has. But it's an interesting thing. Like I would just say straight up, no, I don't, because I know where that question is coming from. It's talking about a religious God, not a spiritual nature, universe God. But I don't know either. So that's the thing, is like I don't put my trust in it. And let me put it that way. I don't put my trust in it, but I don't deny it. Agnostic, I would say, if anything, not atheist. There's something maybe, but it's not what they're trying to sell me. That's what I would say.
That's quite a thread to land on.
Yeah,
agnostic, but not what you're trying to fucking sell me, right?
No, yeah. And the thing is, it's like it's a contemplation. I've had conversations about this, like, even saying like, well, for lack of a better word, just using God, and it's like, well, no, I don't want to do that either. Because I feel like that word God could be very triggering, I think, and could be activating. And it's caused a lot of harm in this world, so, no, we don't need to just use that word just because, for a lack of a better word.
Yeah. My issue isn't so much with the word God, it's with the word belief.
Belief,
right?
yeah,
that,
for sure.
At its core, I think there may be, harm around that word God, but at some point, some people had some wholesome intentions and it just got fucked.
Yeah.
And I really like not necessarily believing in God, but experiencing what that original intention around God is. So do I believe in God? Nah, I don't think so. Do I experience God? Fuck yeah. I experience God.
It's a very more like grounded answer than mine was.
Well, I talk about God a lot. I'm sure you probably have to at some point.
I do
but
not.
I like Brad Warner. Brad Warner, Zen, hardcore Zen, Brad Warner.
Oh, okay,
yeah. And he has a book called There Is No God and He Is Always With You. So it's like this idea, like an idea about God is just an idea. A thought about God is just a thought. A belief about God is just a belief.
Yeah.
But that He is always with you is like, oh yeah, can we drop into that direct experience of security?
I like that, yeah.
Of strength, of comfort and love. And that's like, I asked this because it's kind of the topic for today. We decided to go over the heart practices. We both teach meditation. We might as well talk about some meditation through a punk rock lens.
The Brahma Viharas.
The Brahma Viharas, the heart practices. Yeah. So this, the Brahma Viharas, Brahma was a god in the time of the Buddha, and these are traditionally Buddhist meditations. And then Vihara meaning home. So rather than believing in God or praying to God, the Buddha was like, I don't know about that God stuff. Actually, the Buddha was really kind of critical for the people that worship this God, Brahma, and was like, I've never seen that God or witnessed that God, but I know there's a God in my heart. These qualities that we meditate on, that we find God's home within our heart, the 4 Brahma Viharas: loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. And so these are the 4 heart practices that I think we decided to talk about. We'll see where the conversation goes.
Yeah.
But that's like what really holds space for my security. Just like a Christian would pray to God, I really drop into the heart and really take refuge in that heart and find that same type of comfort. I'm not worshiping or obeying, but I'm just falling into and dropping into. Yeah,
I like that. And and you touched on the belief aspect of things, and I do feel like it's that that difference between faith and belief, right? So not faith in a biblical way, but faith in a trusting way. So Matthew Brensilver did a great talk on the difference between faith and belief.
Cool.
And where our practice, where the Dharma comes in play with this faith, because it's a trust, it's an experience. And kind of what you're speaking to is I trust it because I've experienced it. I've experienced this connection with something deeper inside. It wasn't anything outside of me. And it wasn't because I believed in something that was I really didn't believe anything was gonna bring me peace and ease except for drugs and alcohol or fame and fortune, right?
Right.
But found some of that peace and ease and spaciousness within. There was a trust, a faith that began to build, So, I like that. I like that you touched on that.
Yeah.
And you said, Matthew said that faith or belief was like holding on to something, and faith was like letting go. And I like that. It's like not holding on to fixed. And it's when we get fixed, even, the fixed belief on something. It's just a belief.
And speaking of like these 4 Brahma Viharas, metta being loving kindness is the first one. In the Metta Sutta, the discourse on loving kindness that the Buddha gave, said, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, is not born again into this world.
Exactly.
And it's like, it's an act of love to not hold on to fixed views. It's like, there's so much violence and hate based off of this, like, unshaking belief.
Yeah.
And let's have our views, but not hold on to them so tightly, like you're saying. That open hand.
We want opinions, preferences, totally. But the fixed view on something, it brings so much suffering in ourselves and in others. Yeah. But I do feel like just the practice, and I love the Brahma Viharas. I love the heart practices because they're referred to as these natural heart qualities, these qualities of the heart. They're already here. So I feel like just the basic practice of breath and body, the foundations, it's setting the path back to these qualities. Not that we don't have them, we all have them, but it's coming back to these qualities that are already here and helping us nurture them in more connective, way.
Yeah, and same in that Metta Sutta, the discourse on loving kindness, as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart shall one cherish all beings. Yeah. And it's like, it's that motherly love that we all have in us. Right? That in this meditation, we're not implanting anything, we're uncovering something that is innately human, that motherly love, that we can all feel into that image of a mother holding a child, and it's like protecting a child, and it's in every single one of us. It is, and it's like come back to that. There's something
the simplicity. Innately, I love. There's the simplicity of it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and it was. I think it's also encouraged that just from our we have these Brahma Viharas, and we can get into this topic of what are we doing when we practice these metta and karuna. What are we doing, right? Are we praying to something? Are we trying to make something change? I think it's just kind of cultivating and nurturing that part of our heart. But I think it's believed that. Tell me if I'm wrong. You're definitely more. You know a lot more about the history of the Buddhist practice and more about the teachings. But the Buddha, these Brahma Viharas came later in the teachings, right? Like he was just like, it's all about just coming back to direct experience over and over again. And just by doing that, these qualities of the heart naturally arise. Naturally, without doing anything. Just coming back to the breath, coming back to the feet, the seat, to experience as it is, without judgment, without preference, just being with what is. These heart qualities naturally cultivate. Am I right with that one?
Yeah, and you kept even going further because, as it was showing up later in the Buddha's teaching career, right? It's almost a disservice because the Buddha didn't really offer many instructions on how to do these things.
Exactly.
He was just radiating in all directions to all beings everywhere. And then it was okay, how do I do that? And then luckily, about 900 years after the Buddha, Buddhaghosa came up with the Visuddhimagga, which is a practice manual for the teachings of the Buddha. Yeah. And that's where we get things like offering different categories of people loving kindness or using phrases
thing to me, right? Where it's these teachings came so long after his death. It's it was all this fucking ancient game of telephone, right?
Yeah.
Starting from fucking what's his face's name, his cousin, fucking Ananda.
Yeah.
I have a feeling too that I guess that this is I always picture the Buddha just rolling his eyes at the human condition and people going, it wasn't fast enough. He's look, you just come back to the breath and the body and these naturally arise, and people are it's not happening. It's we want it right now. What's going on? And it's fuck. All right, here's these Brahma Viharas. Let's put some attention to it. Let's see if we can cultivate some shit here, all right? How's that? Yeah. I don't know why the Buddha is a disgruntled teacher in my mind. It's when he's on his deathbed, right? And all his followers were oh, who's the next Buddha? Who's the next Buddha? What are we going to do? And he just rolls his eyes again. If you're asking that question, you have not been listening.
Was it Talladega Nights where they're my Jesus has whatever you know Talladega Nights,
baby Jesus,
Leonard's, he's front row Leonard Skinner fucking hammered, and it's your Buddha is disgruntled.
Just disgruntled teacher.
All right, we want to get into it.
Yeah, I'm super down. I thought we
so
already
round
are.
One. We're talking about
into it,
loving kindness. The first and of 4 of these heart practices, of these meditations, loving kindness. Tell me something about it.
You want me to tell? I have a question first. So,
okay.
So the Brahma Viharas?
Sure.
So there is loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. Do you feel like they're in this order for a reason?
Yes, I do, but I have also heard other traditions put equanimity first.
Well, equanimity is everywhere in the teachings too. It's
right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So,
but what do you think? What are they in this order for a reason?
I feel like maybe they are, but it's not linear. None of this is linear. Even the Eightfold Path, nothing's linear. It's not do this and you're going to achieve this. But I do feel like it's dipping your toes in the water to understand. Of course, let's go to loving kindness first. Metta, and I want to start with just my experience with these practices, and especially with loving kindness. That was just not fucking for me. I was not hearing that at all. It's some gooey praying ass shit. I'm a meditator. I'm coming back to the breath over and over again. That works for me.
Yeah.
Right? So it was really, I was very averse to it, to the point, and I still say it, that I don't say loving kindness. I say kind awareness. I say kind awareness. And I don't know why. I just do. It's same thing. But how it worked for me was I was very reluctant, and I was early recovery, early into these practices, and maybe in my Buddha's disgruntled because I'm just disgruntled with fucking everything and very like, I don't know about everything. I question everything. I don't fucking know. And I remember it was early in recovery, waking up every morning with just the shitty committee, just every morning you suck. What's the point? No one fucking cares. No one likes what you do. All the things, the stories. And it was just like, fuck, man. And it was suggested to me by a teacher that, why don't you start doing the loving kindness practice? And I'm like, well, what do you fucking mean? Bring that into my practice,
Mm-hmm.
And more than just sitting and doing myself and the other people, it's in every moment that you have that inner voice, that inner dialogue. See if you can meet it with kind phrases. And the kind phrases that were offered to me and pretty much stuck was, may I be at ease, may I be at peace, may I be happy. And what happened was I started doing that every morning. And before I did it, though, I had a lot of questions around it. And what really I said, okay, maybe is because what I realized is it's not an affirmation. Because it felt like an affirmation, and it was a request, not a demand. Even if I was just saying these words, it doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. We're just saying the words. And I had to really trust in that process, because if it was an affirmation, if I was to be, I am at ease, I am at peace, I am happy, my mind's going to call bullshit really fucking quick, and it won, right? Mm-hmm. So it was a request. May I continue to do what needs to be done to cultivate more peace, more ease in my life, right? Anyway, long story, too late to make it short. I started waking up every morning, and as soon as I would open my eyes and it would just fucking be loud in my mind, I would start doing the phrases. May I be at ease, may I be at peace, may I be happy. And it'd be like, with every breath, getting my feet on the floor, walking to go get coffee, may I be at peace, may I be at ease, may I be happy. And granted, again, here's that disgruntled teacher. It was definitely sarcastic in my mind. May I be at peace, may I be at ease. But I just kept saying it, And, it would get me up and going, and I would do it throughout the day when I would feel that same narrative coming on. And it wasn't like all of a sudden it was there and it was gone, but I did kind of notice it like that. Like I was starting to experience waking up in the morning and not having that dialogue as much.
Yeah.
Right. And even when it was quickly dismissed, or I didn't feed into it. So I feel like it was just this repetition of the words over and over again, and softening my heart, guiding just the awareness to this, It wasn't magic. I think it's just a retraining of the mind, getting unstuck from that sucky narrative, and meeting it with a little bit of kindness. And I think that softened my relationship with myself, and it went out to soften my relationship with others. And when we do that, then there's less suffering, right? So that was my direct experience with it. And I feel like the key was it was a request, not a demand. And and in formal practice, direct practice, I would just notice that I would do it intentionally, go through all the people and do that kind of stuff, but not a lot. I would use it as an anchor a lot of times, especially if I noticed I was in meditation and I was going down a fucking dark hole or something, I'd return to the breath and just like, oh, may I be at ease, may I be at peace. Okay. So kind of like an anchor, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a very similar experience. And, to fill people in, to explicitly describe this, the way we typically practice loving kindness meditation by using phrases may I be at ease, may I be at peace, may I be happy, the ones we were outlining here. And you can traditionally do it to different categories of people, and they get more challenging as you go, right? You start with a friend, and you wish them ease. May you be at ease, may you be at peace, may you be happy. Then you move to yourself and wish loving kindness towards yourself. May I be at ease, may I be at peace, may I be happy. And then you go to a neutral person, like a complete stranger, just letting them be the representative of all people you don't know and offering those phrases to them. And then a challenging person, somebody you may have resentments towards or have a difficult relationship with. And then you expand it even further, like the Buddha was talking about, in all directions to all beings everywhere. May all beings be at ease. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be happy. And so when I vividly remember the first time I did loving kindness meditation. It was at the nasty, scary, against the stream Nashville. That was in a basement of a restaurant supply company. I had just moved to Nashville from Fort Walton Beach, Florida. I had been practicing Zen Buddhism, Soto Zen Buddhism, for about 5 years. And Zen Buddhism, peace and love to Zen Buddhism, but there's not a lot of loving kindness in that practice.
Yeah.
There's a hell of a lot of nonviolence, though. That was like the main emphasis. A lot of nonviolence. And when we were meditating, we were just sitting, what they call shinkantaza. Just sit. And you are you sitting and counting your breath? No, you're just sitting. Are you sitting and ignoring your thoughts? No, you're just sitting. Just sit. And that was like my main practice of really maintaining this non-violent, observational peacefulness with whatever conditions I find myself in. And then I moved to Nashville, and I'm sitting in the back row as Dave Smith's at the front, and he would do this after every, Dharma talk. He would introduce like a different heart practice, and I started doing loving kindness, and it was exactly what you're talking about. It was like that, like forcefulness. I was like, damn, this shit's violent. Like, it's like, I need to be at ease now. It's like, damn. And it was like, no. It's the, what did you call it? It's like an invitation or what was
a request, not a demand.
It's a request, right?
Yeah.
And then now today, loving kindness is my main practice. It's kind of, fast forward 10 years plus from that time, just sitting at the back of the room being like, holy shit. And if I was going to be honest to myself at that point, I really needed loving kindness meditation because I was fucking depressed.
Yeah.
And loving kindness meditation has been a great support for my depression. Somebody that lives with depression, and my thoughts activate my depression.
Yeah.
And so if I commit to this request over and over again, as the Buddha taught in, I'm talking a lot of discourses now.
You're leaning into it. I like it.
Yeah, the two kinds of thought discourse, he says, what one frequently thinks and ponders upon will become the inclination of the mind. Yeah. And that means thoughts are habits. Yeah. Neurons that fire together wire together, right? Yeah. And that we have these neural inclinations. And if I'm sitting around and just like intentionally thinking harmful thoughts towards people, that shit's going to make me fucking depressed, right? Yeah. And if I'm sitting around going, okay, maybe I could think kind thoughts towards people rather than harboring on shitty thoughts about people, I have more energy. I'm more alive. I'm happier. Yeah. And it's like, oh, there is some agency of what we do in our minds. And that's what the Buddha taught about karma. Karma is just fucking habit, right? And the way we think is habitual. And I got story after story. I'm curious about like where this conversation will go because I got fucking stories. One story. One story.
I want to hear
it. I was working at a restaurant, great vegan restaurant in Nashville, Sunflower Cafe. Shout out. And I had just moved to Nashville. Didn't really know a lot of people, and I was really fucking depressed. And so I would wake up every morning, do love and kindness towards myself. May I be at ease, may I be at peace, so on, right? And then when I got to work, it was 9 a.m. And at 9 a.m., I worked like the back of the house. I was a prep cook from 9 a.m. to 11. And when I was chopping tomatoes, I was doing loving kindness.
Yep.
May I be at ease. May I be at ease. May I be at ease. And then it was time for the onions. May I be at peace. May I be at peace. May I be at peace. Then it was time for the salads. I did may I be kind and gentle with myself was my phrase I used there. And I did like the celery and carrots for the hummus. And may I be filled with loving kindness. And I just kept on saying these things to myself until it was 11 a.m. when they flipped the sign and opened the restaurant, and I moved to be a server at the front of the house. And what do you think my mind did when people were like lined up, pouring into the restaurant? What do you think my mind was?
You're going to others. Yeah.
Well, naturally, it was like, fuck these customers.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But from 11 to noon, I thought, may you be at ease. May you be at ease.
Yeah,
may you be
exactly.
at ease.
Yeah.
That one phrase for a whole hour, because if I didn't, I'd be depressed, and I'd be like, hey, can I be first cut? Because I need to go home and take a nap, right?
Yeah.
And then from noon to 1, may you be at peace. May you be at peace. May you be at peace to every single person. And then from noon to 1, may you be kind and gentle with yourself. May you be kind and gentle with yourself. And then from so on, may you be filled with loving kindness. And it got me through fucking work, right? Just practically, because if I thought those terrible thoughts about those people, I would be depressed and sleepy and go home and go to bed. Because it wasn't common it was very common for me at that time to have like a 3 p.m. bedtime, right?
Really?
Depression will fuck you up, right?
Yeah. Deep rest is what I heard.
Yeah.
Deep rest. And I do experience depression, but mine goes the outward. It's anger. It's agitation. I get very agitated and angry. So in the similar sense, and I kind of was. That's what I was going to ask when you say loving kindness is your main practice. What does that mean for you? Is it in your formal practice, or just like you were saying, in your everyday experience?
Yeah, these days it's kind of cool. Like, okay, I do formal practice, loving kindness, and subtle hints of informal practice. Yeah. So I wake up 6:30 just about every morning, and I get my ass on the cushion, and I love it. I love it. I've gotten to a point where I delight in meditation. I know it has to be a chore at first. It does. It becomes a chore. But then now it's like, oh, I fucking love meditating. Totally. And I sit for about an hour every morning, and I'll work on categories, but I only do one category at a time. Lately, I have been doing friends or my brother. And I kind of drop the phrases and just feel their presence. Yeah. And I will use the breath, and I'll just breathe that love and sit in that for about an hour. Then the timer goes off. My dog wakes up and goes, it's time for a walk. Yeah. So then I take my dog for a walk. And as I go through the neighborhood, I live in like a suburban area. Every house that I walk by, I think, may you be at ease. May you be at peace to all the houses. And if there's people in there, I wish it to the people. If there's no people in there, I just, bless the house, with loving kindness.
Blessing them up. Yeah, I love it.
Not that it actually does anything out there, but it does something for my mind to be like, I really hope these people come home from work and find their house full of ease, right? Love that. And so that's my main practice. In my day-to-day life, it's just mindfulness to mind my manners, I keep my personal accountability with my thoughts because they'll fuck me up, right?
Yeah.
What about
pause
you?
Between stimulus and response.
There's space.
Yeah.
In that space.
I don't do a lot of formal, and when we say intentional formal practice, it's getting on the cushion. But I do feel like mindfulness and these practices just become a part of who we are, and it's how we're meeting the mind, and it's a response to the inner dialogue or whatever it may be. So, but when I do sit down and like I say, most of the time I'll use the phrases to come back to sometimes, especially if I can feel some tightness or, getting in the body.
Yeah.
with a thought. But I love the slowing down and feeling what it feels like to bring in, like I'll bring in my son, like, and send loving kindness and really feel what does that feel like. And I'll even do that sometimes when I'm really having a tough time with myself, because I think it's the way it's offered is yourself first. Send love and kindness to yourself. And I had to trick myself. And what I would do is someone easy to love, really easy. And it was, even if it's complicated with my kid at times, it's just fucking genuine love. And sometimes it can be a fucking pet because, even they're complicated. I'm picking up their shit. I know they love me back. They're stoked, every time I see them. So just feeling that love and sending love and kindness, and may you be at ease, may you be at peace, may you be happy. And for anybody listening, you can make up your own phrases, right? It doesn't have to be those. But then what I would do is I would imagine seeing myself in reflection of their eyes, in my son's eyes, or even my pet, my dog, or something. Their eyes, seeing my reflection, and knowing they want these same wishes for me. So I would see my own reflection, even picture my own image, and send the kind phrases to myself. And that would kind of it would trick me into giving loving kindness to myself without that sarcastic voice, So that's in my formal, and it really helps a lot of times because I don't get agitated as much as I do, as I did. But sitting in traffic, I remember sitting in traffic late for something. I think probably late to a meditation group because it's like always hurrying to get to a meditation group, which is super counterintuitive. But sitting in traffic and just like, fuck, and sitting there. And then, I remember sitting at a stoplight in traffic and these other people turning, and I would just peek into their little car realm for a minute, and I would just start saying the phrases. May you be at ease. May you be at peace. Just like different people going by. May you be happy, And I remember doing that, and then looking in my rear view mirror, and I'm like, oh, fuck. There's tons of people behind me. And I'm like, I am the traffic.
That's always the discovery.
Yeah. It was like, it just softened my heart enough to have a different perspective on it. It's like, we're all suffering here. Yeah, there's people in front of me, and I'm someone else's fucking problem because they're doing the same, So it was this kind of release, And so I do that a lot when I'm just sitting on a stop sign or a stoplight, people turning, going by. And it was kind of cool. You get into that and you see there's like people just stress driving. They're all like, just may you be at ease, may you peace, And the other thing, I'm sorry, the other thing in my formal practice, I extended this stuff because, like I said, it wasn't happening right away. Like I didn't feel this way. So I would start saying, may I continue to do what needs to be done to cultivate ease in my life, and basically doing these practices or showing up in a different way. And may I be at peace. And this was a huge one for me, was may I be at peace with who I am, right where I am, right here, with room to grow, right? Yeah. And just kind of saying little extensions of them a little bit. And it helped me to with not that demand. It was like, yeah, there's still quote unquote work to be done. The effort needs to be there. But yeah, if my practice has taught me anything is patience. It's that slow drip. Like I said, in my waking up in the morning, it wasn't all of a sudden you're not angry in the morning. It was like, oh, I'm not waking up as disgruntled, Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, there's more to be said, definitely, because I find myself inspired by some of the things you're saying. But this is just an overview. The next episode, we'll give it more breath. The intention of...
If y'all want more on these things, in particular, each one of these things, let us know. Put it in there. We'll get into it. Mikey will break down the knowledge, and I'll simplify it for y'all. I'm the practical
You're giving
Dharma
way
guy.
Too much credit. So round 2 of the Brahma Viharas, compassion.
Yeah.
Karuna, compassion. You got anything to say about it?
Yeah. I mean, compassion for me, I feel like I misunderstood what compassion even meant. Right.
I like how the intro to all these. I completely misunderstood this.
I totally misunderstood. And it's basically my whole practice. Learn by experience and twist the knobs until it sounds okay to you. It's kind of like how I get my guitar tone. How'd you get your guitar tone? I don't know. Sweep that knob and this knob. Yeah. But so, my thing with compassion was I thought, and it wasn't my fault, that it was about fixing something. Compassion in, especially towards others. My loved one was going through something. It's like, okay, let's figure out your problem so that, you're okay. That's compassion, right? The service of compassion. And what I learned really quick in my practice was, no, that's codependency. You're hurting, and I'm hurting because you're hurting because I have empathy. Now I need to fix your stuff so I don't feel, so it's like this fucking loop, this feedback loop, and it's like really selfish, actually. So yeah. I had to learn over time that, and I think the practice is so perfect for this, is that it's about just holding the pain, whether it's yours or someone else's. It's not by fixing, it's not by figuring out, it's just acknowledging it's here. It's here. And can we give it space to be here? Right? And when it's held in that way, what I noticed that without trying to fix or throw, I would ask so many teachers, what is the perfect formula to get rid of this whatever I'm fucking dealing with? Do I mix it with metta and concentrate? What do I mix it with? Yeah. And it's like, no, we just give it space. And when I'd give it space, that compassion, again, this quality of the heart naturally would arise. I'm just holding it. And within that space, whatever needed to happen, because sometimes an action did need to happen, then the wise action would arise, right? But a lot of times, I would say fucking 95% of the time, there was nothing that needed to be done rather than just to be with it, to sit and be with it, As far as like actually sending compassion to myself and others, I really like the practice, like a Tonglen practice. And this teacher, Jeff Foster, no, it wasn't Jeff Foster, it was someone else. Pascal Aguilar. If you ever hear Pascal, I think he's French Canadian. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong with that, but he's great, deep accent, but had this practice. It was a Tonglen thing, but it was an imagery, and I love imagery stuff. And he would talk about picturing as if there's just a little flame in your heart, like even a little spark. And every time you breathed in, there was the oxygen would come in and ignite that spark into a little flame. And then breathing out, you breathe out the warm, caring compassion. And you can even build that into a little wood-burning stove or a little bonfire or something, and every time you breathe in your suffering, whatever is happening, the anger, frustration, sadness, breathe it in, put that log on the fire, and breathe out even the words, warm. Feel the warmth, say warmth, say love, say compassion. And so it's like this whole kind of imagery, and it really was helpful for me. I really liked that a lot. And, I had a couple of stories, if you don't mind, but
please.
The story where I saw this happen. I was assisting, the first time I was assisting a retreat, and it was just a basic mindfulness retreat. It wasn't about the Brahma Viharas, it wasn't about anything. It was just coming back to the breath and body over and over again. And this person in one of the attendees was just, you could see it on their face, just fucking like miserable. They really bummed out, just like, oh shit, it's gonna be a long one for this person. And after a couple days of practice of just really simple mindfulness, first foundation stuff, few days I started seeing like a little, the posture was a little bit straight. I saw a little bit of a smile. There was a lightness to this person. And by the end of the retreat, they seemed really like open and free. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And when they shared at the end their experience, they said when they came in, there was so much going on in their life, and they just felt so miserable. They felt just very cold and dark and wet inside, like a water heater whose pilot light went out. And so they're just cold, and everybody around them was bummed out and cold, right? And she said, or they said, I'm sorry, that when they started just doing the basic practices, something ignited in their heart. And over time, warmth, even in they could feel the warmth in their chest. They can feel it coming in. And by the end of the retreat, they're, like you're saying, basically radiating this warmth, this kindness that naturally arose just by coming back to the breath and body over and over again, sitting in community, really putting in the effort. So I thought that was very beautiful, just to see that just doing these simple practices is an act of kindness. It's a radical act of self-kindness, and these heart qualities naturally arise. And the second story is that I was offering the Pascal Aguilar. I got to look up his name, say it right, and put that in the notes. But I was offering that vision, that imagery practice to a rehab I was working at, and at the end I had people share their experience, and this one person was like, "Yeah, it was cool, but then by the end I had the hugest Burning Man fire, and I was throwing people in it and shit. I don't know." I'm like, "Oh shit, you went way farther than this." It was like fucking took it to the extreme. So be careful. Just a few logs. Something just brings comfort, connection.
So is Tonglen your main practice around compassion, or do you ever use phrases like the traditional side of like?
I don't usually use phrases. No.
Yeah. For me, I play around with phrases. May I open to the pain and suffering in my life. May I care for the pain and suffering in my life. And may I be free from suffering. And like, just like as a teaching tool to be like, this is how this works, right? Yeah. Just like metta, loving kindness, we can develop habitual patterns of thinking about being open and caring and free, right? And it's also like a process. If there was one phrase to use, it'd be, may I be free from suffering. Because I really think compassion is, if we're talking about Buddhist practice, compassion is Buddhist practice. It's like the whole, it's like everything.
Two wings of freedom, right? Is it in the Tibetan tradition, I think? Wisdom and compassion. The two wings of practice of Buddhism.
Sure. And like, to have the wisdom to even be compassionate towards pain, like how they're intertwined.
Yeah.
It's so like when it comes to Buddhist practice, it is freedom from suffering. That's what we're here to do. And we acknowledge that there isn't a freedom from pain necessarily. Yeah. So the pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. How do we step into that optional space? And it's by caring for pain and making pain an object of our love rather than an object of our resistance. Yeah. And it's like these bodies are set up for survival, not happiness. And our own survival brain will be like, let's get the fuck away from this pain.
Exactly.
Like, how do I run?
I'm in danger. Fight? Danger, Will Robinson.
Right. And that's a quite stressful place when pain is always going to be present, right?
Yeah.
So the Buddha found a hack. Let's turn towards the pain and love the pain and train our awareness to be compassionate and not turn on ourselves when we're in pain. Yeah. And, the way I do that is in like formal meditation by bringing to mind something that hurts, most often emotionally, and open to it.
Yeah.
Which is quite a radical act, right? And I have plenty of other practices, but really just opening to pain is just like such a interesting thing, rather than resisting it, because what happens is like our relationship starts to change automatically, and we start bringing that care. And it's like, what the fuck is caring for pain even mean? And it's like, well, just being open, you notice that you have a presence that's aware of how to do this on your own. It will solve itself, right?
Yeah. Well, like I said, give it enough space.
Yeah.
The wise response naturally arises, right? Because there is compassion in action as well. It's not a complacent kind of practice where I think all of these can be like very complacent. Like, we find in these spiritual realms a lot of times it could be a huge bypass of the pain, and it's not. It's being with the pain. It's holding the pain. Kindness is meeting the pain. This is holding the pain, creating a wise relationship to it. And I love that you used, free from. And I think that it's free from suffering, not free of suffering. There's a huge difference, right? It's not like, may I be free of suffering. That's we can't. Life is painful, like you said. It's like pain is inevitable, suffering is optional.
And I think that's like a distinction too. Like, what is pain? What is suffering? Is there a difference between pain and suffering? And does it even matter? Right? And I think it doesn't matter. Just be compassionate towards all of it. Right?
Yeah.
Whatever hurts, bring compassion towards it.
Right? And having that clear understanding of what compassion is, like, and if it's not clear, just keep being with it, keep showing up. Yeah. And there's a great quote by Jeff Foster. That's why he came to mind, was that he writes that your pain, sorrow, doubts, and fears are not mistakes. They don't need to be healed, just held lightly in the loving arms of present awareness. Right? So they're not asking for anything else. These things aren't asking to be fixed or healed. They're just asking to be seen and held.
Yeah, the healing does itself, right?
It does.
I think to a certain degree, where we're talking about, like, at first we need to refine this about the difference between reactivity and responsiveness, right? Like, where the codependency that you're talking about, I got to react to this pain and fix it, but also inaction is a type of reactivity.
It is,
right?
For sure.
So
complacency.
There's a response calling, and I think as we keep going, we start to trust our heart.
Yes,
and not that we need to act from a stress-filled place. Like, there's some pain here, I need to have a wholesome, loving, compassionate response, right? I need to figure this out, and that's so stressful. But if we just listen to our heart and be like, hey, heart, what's up? What do you need? It will show you, right?
Yeah,
and
the heart will guide you, But it's creating that relationship, right? And I always like to say, like, even think about creating a healthy relationship takes a few major things, right? One is showing up, being consistent, and the other is just listening. Just really getting to know it. Get to know the sensations of the pain, not the story. Like, that's where the somatic healing comes in. It's like, there's this big story, but can we slow down and feel the tightness? Is there a tightness in the chest? Is like, is every fiber of your body buzzing, and give that space. That's when we can do that, the sorrow, the worry, the doubt, the fear, the anger, all of it has so much good information. It's telling us something. Yeah. And the response is there. It's in that pain that we can truly see what anger is telling us. Do we need to protect something here? We might. But most of the time, it's just some made-up shit in my head that I'm angry about. But it's there for a reason. It's like we need to stand up for something, for injustice. Can we show up resilient and not get burnt out?
I think, maybe the last point, it's very important what you just said about compassion, about not some made up shit in our head, right? Where sometimes compassion can be quite dangerous.
Yeah.
When we believe we're being compassionate, but all we're doing is ruminating on how awful things are.
Totally.
And we're just buying into the belief that we're ruminating on and not actually feeling the feeling.
Yeah.
Where, the somatic expressions, the bodily expressions of something like sadness. I can go into sadness in my mind, and the mind will tell me about how life is unfair and how I've been fucked over. And believing those thoughts isn't compassion, right? That's just sitting around believing a sad story that it's pity. Sometimes we say the near enemy of compassion is pity. And sitting around in our self-pity, but like, what is sadness? And typically it's like felt in the throat, right? And it's sometimes the eyes do funny things like cry, or you have something in the belly, and it's like, what's that direct experience of this pain? And we can still have compassion for our thoughts too, but through mindfulness, not believing the thought, but being like, I can open to that thought and knowing that thought is a thought and care for that pain in my mind, but not believing every thought we think, because that's just going to burn us out and deregulate us, right?
I love that you speak to it, and I the one thing I would say though too is like, we don't want to dismiss our experience of past. Like, there probably has been a lot of harm caused in life, and everybody has their own experiences with having harm, done, and been through some harmful, scary shit that probably has created a lot of this stuff. And we don't want to dismiss that. I don't think but we don't want to identify with that as who I am either. But I think getting to know it and validating it, we can really, and then dropping down, letting go of the story of why. We know fucking why. That motherfucker, this one, get into what am I actually experiencing right now? What am I feeling? Where do I feel it? Get out of the story of why just for a moment. And I think that is compassion, dropping in and giving space. Just the validation and the acknowledgement is compassion. It's like having a compassionate conversation with a friend, or just listening. My kid has a temper tantrum. I used to, like, every fiber in my body would want to tell him, "What are you crying about? What is it?" It's like, but he was just trying to express an emotion he didn't understand.
Yeah.
And when I would go, "Oh, what's going on?" I would be curious. And, gee, it's not fair. You won't let me have the iPad. Oh, okay. You're disappointed. Yeah, I know what disappointment feels like. It sucks. Do you need anything else? Do you need anything besides the iPad? Do you just need a moment? Yeah, just a moment. This is an actual conversation I had with my kid when he was about 5. Give him a moment, and, about 5 minutes later, not even that, there's like a fake cry. I go up and say, "Hey, what's up? You cool?" And he's like, "Yeah, can we go outside and play?" Oh, let's go. 5 minutes, right? Because the compassionate response for me was not what all my caregivers would say to me when I was crying. Go to your room. I'll give you something to cry. All that shit. Gave him space. I let him have it. His temper tantrum was what we call it, but it wasn't that. And I actually named it. He didn't know what it was. I named it. It's disappointment. Related, normalized it. I experienced disappointment. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. And then what do you need? Just a moment. So I try to meet myself. That's my compassion practice, is meeting myself like that. My little guy inside me that is having a temper tantrum. Whoa, you're having a big moment right here, dude. What's going on? What do you need? Name it. Oh, okay. Yeah. Space. All right. And it definitely, disappointment for me lasts definitely longer than 5 minutes. I fucking hate disappointment. But maybe it won't last as long for him growing up, because he knows it. He knows he can hold it. He can be with it, and it passes.
We rarely get to compassion or any of these heart practices through invalidation. I think we validate it so much so we get to a place of deep understanding that Tara Brach, in Radical Acceptance, has this practice of saying yes. It's like, I hate myself. Yeah, that I do have that thought in my mind. Yeah, we're having a moment here, huh?
We're having a moment.
Yeah. And just saying yes to everything. It's kind of like,
And I do feel like it starts with that, is that switch in the internal dialogue. Just that. We're already having a fucking really unskillful skillful conversation in there. So why not just try, even if it sounds fucking wackadoodle, just try it. Say yes.
Yeah.
Validate it.
Like, our internal monologues, dialogues, whatever, is like we're placing secure voices, like attachment theory, like a secure voice in our minds by doing this. But I think I can't remember, somebody said that this is the most challenging, the next one, which is this word mudita, which sympathetic joy or appreciative joy, finding joy in others, joy, gratitude. Mudita. Do you want to front this one, or do you want me to go for it?
It's a big one for sure. Do I agree with the hardest? Maybe. I've had some experience. I think the hardest to really understand is equanimity, just because the word is like so heady anyway, but we're not there yet. But let's speak to it. What's your experience with mudita?
So going into like what, I first heard about this tradition around mudita, very similar to loving kindness and compassion, back to phrases towards categories of people. And the phrases we use, or I use, is may your happiness grow, may your happiness continue, I am rooting for you. And it's a way to root for people, to find happiness in other people's happiness. And when we are able to train our awareness to find happiness in other people's happiness, we're taking our opportunities for happiness from 1 to 8 billion, right? As they say, right? We're expanding it even further, that we can find happiness in so many places. And it's a great antidote to envy and jealousy and hyper competitiveness that is so prominent. And for me, that's like, I have a great way of isolating myself and othering myself. I don't belong here, right? And with this practice of sympathetic joy, appreciative joy, mudita, traditionally calling it, it's like, I can be in the room and just like have a good time that other people are having a good time. Like root for people. And like the categories that we generally start with, like somebody that's easy to root for. And then, I don't know, I think we'd go for ourselves after that. I generally skip myself and go last myself.
With all of them we do. But that's a question I have too. Like, go ahead.
Neutral, and then difficult person, then myself is what I do.
Categories.
But then like the difficult person isn't somebody that's fucked you over. The difficult person is somebody you're jealous of or envious of. But what was your question?
Well, I don't know if I was... A teacher was teaching it this way, one of my old teachers, but put in sympathetic joy and appreciative joy. Is there a difference? And I feel like I was taught a difference, and I still use it, and it works for me, but I'm curious. And I'll explain how I work with it.
Well, what I think is, sympathetic joy is that sympathy. Like emotions are contagious. If I started yelling right now, you'd feel it. Or if I started crying right now, you would feel it, because emotions are contagious.
Yeah.
So joy, like have that sympathetic sympathy. Yeah. I could feel that. I feel that joy, right? And then appreciative joy, I think would just be a different word for gratitude. What do you think?
I'm feeling, for me, like appreciative joy. I always, appreciative joy is for myself. Experiencing my own joy, and I think, which is really important. I feel like this has been a huge practice for me, and what I try to offer to people when I do any practices around this is, like you said, it's so hard to send this to ourselves, and I think that the joy and the happiness in our life is so fucking fleeting in our mind. It's not that we don't experience, but it doesn't stick like the painful memories, because that's survival, right? It's their survival. We need to remember this so it doesn't happen again, for the sake of our survival. The stuff that's good, that's not doing anything for our survival. This is this old fucking instinctual thing that is still there, even minute, and it shows up everywhere. So slowing down And even just the phrases for me is like, may I learn to appreciate the happiness and joy in my life without clinging. May I learn to appreciate the happiness and joy without clinging. You know, and that really, like, even when I'm experiencing just a little piece, little something, can I rest in that and really feel it? Again, that somatic, like, feel that joy. Let it sink into the marrow. Let it really wire into the brain, right? Let those neurons fire so that it can be a recall. You don't have to go to the ocean to experience that joy, because that ocean is there in your memory, and you can go to it in a sense, right? I feel like let those memories really sink into the marrow of who we are without clinging to it. Like it always has to be, I always have to be happy, you know, that's the bypass, right? Or I always have to be joyful. I don't, you know.
There's a bunch of things I want to say on that, but hence I feel like this is an introduction episode to more.
For sure, but we'll refine these.
Yeah, there's so much that, like Hardwiring Happiness by Rick Hansen, the whole book about that negativity bias, that, you know, what you're speaking to.
Exactly.
That book was so like good for me for just a practical sense of like, oh yeah, like we are these like outdated machines that are just like anxious and like don't give a fuck about like pleasure. And it's like, but I really love pleasure. But yeah, but it's not sticking like the hard shit. And it's like,
that's where addiction comes in, right? Where it's like we're always trying to feel good, you know.
We don't know how to feel good. And I firmly believe, but like the way I contextualize that is happiness is an inside job. Yeah. Like the things outside of me may trigger that happiness, but if my mind isn't appreciative, I'm not going to be happy. So first and foremost, it's an inside job where happiness arises. Not to dismiss the outside world, there's rad shit, but if I don't train my awareness to be happy, I won't be happy. It's all inside.
Yeah. You know, and again, with this practice, it's all these practices, everything. And what I love about it, kind of what we were talking about in the beginning, is the faith, because I've experienced it. I've experienced moments of love and kindness. I've experienced moments of compassion, and I've experienced this appreciative joy and the sympathetic joy for others. And I found it, I a couple times used it real time, like some difficult things. One was some jealousy stuff around. I had my recording studio, I had an intern that worked for me for a long time, and I was trying to give him some opportunities to take on clients. And he's like, oh, you know, me and my friend are going to open up a studio in same small town of Santa Cruz. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right, man. But, you know, we have some shared clients here, you know, or whatever. And I was trying to be okay with it, but I was like really kind of like scared, really, is what I was, you know. And you know, he did. He opened up a studio, and all of a sudden clients that were coming here were going there because it was cheaper and all kinds of stuff. And I was just getting so fucking mad. I was just like, fuck that dude. And Mudita came to mind. So I just started in my practice sitting with just that feeling, that thought, and just, you know, may he be met with appreciation. May his happiness continue and grow. And over time, my heart softened, you know, and I didn't have ill will towards him. I was so jealous and just like angry and, you know, resentful. And like a few years later, he actually, you know, came back to me and he's like, yo, man, the studio didn't work out. And actually I need to look for a place to me and my fiance, I think, or his girlfriend at the time, need a place. And I was able to help him out with the place. My heart softened enough where it was just like, all right, yeah, I got you, you know? Yeah. And it was like, it didn't even think about what happened. And if I didn't have that practice, I'd be like, fuck you, dude. Yeah, right. Yeah. You deserve what you got, or whatever, you know? Yeah, and another time was, I don't know if I might not tell this story because I think I told it before, the Disneyland story. You would appreciate this. Yeah. Did I tell you the one where I just, for anybody listening brand new, it hasn't listened to anything, my boy over here, Mikey, loves Disneyland. This dude over here, not so much. Yeah. But I've learned to appreciate it through practice, through my kids' eyes, one. But I remember being at Disney World, and it was just like, I'm like, oh my God, this is the epitome. And I was just like, already feeling just like, And I went to the busiest place, I don't know where it was in Disney World, whatever, and just sat there and started, everybody was coming by, and instead of heckling all the family's same shirts and best Star Wars Disney dad thing or whatever, I started going, may you continue to experience joy. May the happiness, the phrases over and over to everybody that was coming by, kind of like I was doing in the metta practice, right? And I started that shifted in real time. I noticed it in real time where I started noticing these people are having so much fucking fun right now. They are so excited. Yeah, they're not even caring how much thousands of dollars they're spending right now. They're just in the moment doing their thing. Even if they're stressed to get to the next ride, they're just having a good time. And it really helped me just be a part rather than separate of, began to have a different relationship to Disney.
I'm going to win you over. You're going to be a Disney adult.
I'm going to go. Me and Echo, my kid, are going to go to Disneyland with you, man.
Yes.
I actually like Disney World a lot.
So my mom, superstitious Italian Catholic woman. I go to Disney with her. She lives in Florida. We go to Disney occasionally together, and she loves like throwing pennies into the fountains. Yeah. And she's like, make a wish, and I'm like, oh, this, superstition is so fun. So every time she gives me a penny, I look around and I find a kid and I make a wish for that kid. I'm like, I want that kid to have the best fucking day of their life. And then I throw it in there. Yeah. So I'm not saying, I want to win $1 million. I'm like, I want that fucking kid to have a good time. Yeah. And why? There is some selfishness in it because I'm instantly happy when I'm like making a wish for that kid to have a good time rather than, some superstitious act of throwing a penny in a fountain. Yeah. So I feel that.
It's the redirection. I think all this stuff is just the redirection, reorienting the mind. Mm-hmm. Get so stuck in the suck of experience and opinions and preferences.
Yeah. Round 4.
And we'll fucking wrap it up with the deepest one. And this is kind of why I think it does go in this order a little bit. Yeah. Because by the time we get here, there's this working with the 10,000 joys, 10,000 sorrows, right? And equanimity.
Yeah, right?
Equanimity. It's like, okay, when I teach, I don't use equanimity that much. I don't use the word. I say balance of mind, and I really try to, make it more practical. And I remember having a guest teacher, and they did a talk on equanimity. Beautiful fucking talk on equanimity. Beautiful talk. And at the end, one of the students goes, during the Q&A, goes, so what's equanimity mean?
Yeah. What a weird fucking word that you never hear besides meditators.
It's the balance of mind, and I do feel, and that's why I think it is. Is it one of the qualities of the mind, or what? There's so many. Equanimity shows up in so many of the
It's the seventh factor of awakening. It's the one of the fourth jhana. It's fourth brahma vihara.
And right? It's simple. We make it so much bigger than it is. It's just balance of mind. Balance. It's being with both. It's being with the sorrow and the happiness. It's being with all of it. Holding it equally. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I do think equanimity is the right word, but who the fuck says that word? Right?
It's definitely the right word, but not in my circles for sure.
But I like peace. I've been using the word peace.
Peace, yeah.
But there is a connotation that peace is like sitting on a beach.
Yeah.
But I like that, like, peace isn't the absence of conflict. Peace is a way to be with your conflict.
Right,
you know, we find peace with our unpeacefulness.
Yeah.
You know, and that equanimity. When I hear that, I'm like, oh, I get what equanimity is. It's not clinging and craving, and it's not pushing and hating, and how it is like so lovely that this list of loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and then equanimity is at the end, because it is kind of like a diamond, right? Like at the top, there's loving kindness to open the doorway of our heart. And then when we open our heart up, there's pain. And then you're like, well, what do I do with pain? Well, you meet pain with compassion, right? And then, but there's also pleasure. Yeah. Well, meet pleasure with gratitude. And then what's the outcome of this? Oh, you're in balance. Yeah. You're equanimous. Right? We made it even fucking weirder.
Equanimous.
We're at peace. We're unconditionally at peace. You know, unconditionally, like regardless of the conditions, whether that's pleasure or pain. We're like, yeah, I got that peace. I got it. You know.
Yeah.
And I got story after story, but like one of which is, my teacher. One of my teachers, the Venerable Panyawati, when I was working with her, she was really teaching awakening, like the 4-path model of like traditional Buddhist awakening. She was like, if you're not here for awakening, why are you even meditating? Right. It was very much on fire. Like stream entry, once returner, non-returner, arahat. Let's go for it. And I remember having like a one-on-one with her during my teacher training with her. And I was like, yeah, you teach this like strong determination awakening. And at Wild Heart Meditation Center, I mostly teach like equanimity as like the goal of the practice. And I'm like, should I be teaching like traditional awakening models? And she's like, oh, awakening, equanimity, same thing.
Yeah.
And really, that's like the root of our awakening, being at peace with all things, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's the awakening is just seeing, is being awake to both. It's being with the whole of experience, right? And you know, I think if we attach to one, we're going to get lost in the other somehow. Yeah. Right. And I do feel like that's the bypass of spiritual practice so much. And I think it's not our fault. It's not society's fault, really. Maybe it is. But how it's advertised, how spirituality is in Buddhism even, you know, the stoic Buddha statue and all this, you know, peace and love kind of shit. And it's, totally. And it's with the fucking dukkha, duty, the dookie, you know? So, it's learning to be with the whole of experience. Yeah.
And when it comes to traditionally practicing, we haven't said, how do you practice equanimity?
That's a question I wanted to ask you, because I don't know if I have a traditional equanimity practice.
So, I think I learned this from Dave Smith. Where it's a combination of phrases. I feel you. I know you. I care about you. I appreciate you. And so it's I feel you. So whatever's present, I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. I know you. It's like
do you put dog in there?
What? Dog?
I feel you, dog.
I feel you, dog. I feel you, dog. I'm not that cool.
I feel you, dog.
I feel you, dog.
Sorry, you're like, what the fuck? Where's Joe going with this?
But the cool thing is, though, you do start saying it. Like if you say these things to yourself, you'll start saying it out loud, and you'll sound cool. I feel you. I feel you, bro. I feel you, dog. Yeah, I feel you. But back to my sentimentality of these lovely heart practices. I feel you, meaning you feel whatever is present, regardless if it's pain or pleasure or anything in between. I know you. I know you as that like observational awareness of mindfulness, right? Like getting to know whatever the object is in front of us, which is just a loving act in general. Like I feel you and I know you. Like that just feels like loving kindness to me. And I care about you, right? Whether it's pain or pleasure, but that's I care. I care for you. Being the caregiver for your own experience is that compassion piece, and I appreciate you. Right? And bring that gratitude piece. And the cool thing is, like, we get to a place where we appreciate pain, and it's kind of like fucked up, but awesome. Right? Like, we develop a sense of gratitude as pain arises and to listen to it and go, I appreciate you, pain, because you're communicating something to me.
You're alive. Yeah. The whole
Those
yin yang of things. Without you don't experience the joy, right? It's like if there's no pain, what is joy? Right? You would know.
The Brene Brown, I think, says you can't selectively numb.
Exactly.
I fucking numbed.
I've been pretty selective.
Well, in depression, a lot of my depression came from hiding from grief, a lot of grief that I was just like, oh, move through it. Let's keep going.
Right.
Then I got anhedonia. Like anhedonia is the inability to feel pleasure that you get during depression. Yeah. So the more I started going back into like some of my grief, more happier I was. It was the wildest thing. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Whew. Turn towards. And the beautiful thing, and I feel the beautiful thing again with these heart qualities, and that we already have them. They're already here, so I feel, and I would love to anybody listening that just by you being curious of, maybe you just want to see these two goofballs talking about whatever, but maybe you're curious about mindfulness or something like that. Just that curiosity is a turn towards these heart qualities. That's an act. It's a radical act of self-kindness. You're turning towards. I say, like, when people come through the door of into the center, the Sitfield Hill Meditation Center that I just opened, or any group that I'm offering, I'm like, just you coming through the door was a radical act of self-kindness.
Damn.
Turning your attention towards yourself is a radical act of giving yourself a little bit of space is such a radical act of self-kindness, right? And being with, no matter how many shitty thoughts are coming up or difficult emotions are arising in your practice, you're being with it without reacting. You're just getting the fuck out. Maybe you need to get the fuck out. That could be an act of compassion too, but being with it and not trying to fix or figure out, or even when that is happening, you're just being with. That is compassion. So they're naturally arising, right? I think a little bit with the appreciative joy and equanimity, there's a little bit of shifting focus more, I think, but turning our attention towards the joy and happiness we experience. I think, there's some orienting, and especially the balance too of mind. But the kindness and compassion, I think they're so right there, and just by showing up, all of them start cultivating, but we can really start to notice and rest in that. Just the effort of coming, just the effort of being curious, I think is the beginning paving stones of it,
Damn. So good. I felt that. I feel you, dog.
I feel you, dog. Yeah.
That was so good.
It's making it simple, man. It's like, and I do feel like, and I could be wrong to all this shit, but the Buddha was onto something when it's just, if we come back to experience as it is over and over again, validate that, yes, there's suffering, right? Yes, there's pain, and see that I'm causing more suffering from the craving, all of it. But just coming back, returning to experience as it is, that these heart qualities naturally arise. the simple practice of present time awareness. And it can be as simple as that,
Yeah. Well, to be continued. This is the first of more discussions on the Brahma Viharas, the heart practices of metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha, loving kindness, compassion,
these are
joy,
your birthrights,
equanimity. Let's do it. Yeah. All right. Punks on Hope. Thanks for hanging out. Like, subscribe, rate. I don't know, all that bullshit. Join the movement.
Do what you do.
Yeah.
I feel you, dog.
Feel you, dog. Bye.